Hello, everyone. So, for one, I hope you can hear the music in the background to help lighten things up, I guess. Any, anyway, so you'll notice that I do not have my sister with me because this is a new thing that I'm going to do along with the reacts, which is called anime chats. Now, this these new videos will include me just talking about shows and kind of breaking them down and also rating them at the very end after I explain my point of view on everything: setting, characters, plot, soundtracks, artwork, etc. So for they they won't come out as quickly as the other ones, I think. I don't know yet. But I'm going to do strictly the ones that I have seen, and I know basically I know what I'm talking about. It's not like I'll go out, get a random one that I haven't seen, put it in, and try and criticize it based on what I heard. Now, in these, I don't want to. I try not to put in a lot of spoilers. I'm going to try not to. But there. I. There will eventually be spoilers, and I cannot stop. Once I start, I cannot stop. That is how I am. I am sorry. And, like I said, there are spoilers ahead, and it I'll recommend it now. If you do not want to see how a certain part is, like for characters and all that, I'll warn you if you want to see it or not. It's your choice. Not stopping you. Anyway, so before I even start, for every new one, I'll put a little icon in the corner, and it's like a tiny hint, and hopefully not that the soundtrack I'm playing in the background will say the title like it already did, but so anyway, let's just jump into it because I've been obsessed over this for about 2 years now since the animation version came out, and I'm just excited to actually be able to express everything I want to say about this. I really am. So, let's go right into it. So, oh, perfect. Um, Today, to start everything off, just like with the first reacts, which I just realized were similar, I'm going to do the Danganronpa series. Now, apart from the other three reacts where it's focused on the three separate ones, in this one I will cover all three games and the animation for the first one, but I'll say that because the Ultra Despair Girls, or another episode, since that one came out recently and it's being more translated into English now, English sub, then I have not seen a lot of actual stuff with it. I do know how it ends. I do know the basics. So I'll try and say as much as I can. But there are going to be certain things that I will not say because I do not want to spoil anything. If I accidentally say it, I'm very, very sorry. So, the games in order are Trigger Happy Havoc, Goodbye Despair, and another episode, Ultra Despair Girls. Now, in each one, they're basic kind of thriller horror games, and in the first two, it's more basically about trials and murders, and in the third one, it's kind of different. So, to explain a little bit more, let's go on the plot. So, the basic plot of the first game is that in a school called Hope's Peak Academy, where the elite or students with the ultimate title, which is a title that they are mostly known for, get scouted out and able to go to the school. If you graduate, you're told that you're going to end up happy and successful. So, when 15 students enter Hope's Peak Academy, they are thrown into a wild game of life or death where they are told by their new headmaster, which is a bear called Monokuma or Mono Bear, whichever one suits you, and he tells you that there is no way out of the school other than going through graduation, which is you have to basically commit murder and get away with it. If you do, and you're not found out after the trial, then everyone will go through punishment while the murderer goes free. If the murderer is caught, then only the murderer will go through punishment, which is, as you probably guess it, is execution. Now, the first and second game both have kind of like the same plot to it, but with new characters, and the second game is more elaborate. Especially since once you find out more about the actual storyline in each game, you find out that the characters in the second game are more, not extravagant, but in more detailed about where they're come from, and more like that, more background on them. Now, the third game is actually, I would call it almost a spin-off, but it's a sequel to the first game and a prequel to the second game, which is like I think a half a year difference for both of them, which is the main character's sister, or Makoto Naegi. He is the main character of the first game. His sister, Kamaru Nagi, is the main character of the third game. Her, along with Toko Fukawa, who is in the first game, have to go around and find out, and they have to stop a group of children who took over this town and is using almost the exact same methods as Monokuma as Mastermind did, which was use Monokumas, commit murder, all that. It's really deadly, but it's very different. So, the setting. So, in each of the games, there is a brand new setting, which I really like. And in the first game, it takes place at Hope's Peak Academy, which is the image all the way on the left. That is the extravagant school that you cannot apply for, you have to get scouted out for. There are many floors, so many rooms. If that school really did exist, except for the murder part of it, I would love to go there. The second game, on the other hand, goes with a new setting, which is, I think, Jabberwock Island. Islands, technically. It's the image all the way on your left. Now, apart from the first game where they are in the school building, they are not allowed to come out. They're trapped. On Jabberwock Island, they have to stay on the island. They can go through any islands they want. It's basically if Hope's Peak Academy was split up, the floors were split up, and each floor is an island, and they're all connected, and you cannot get off the island, and each way is blocked by like a robot guard. Now the third game is set in a town, Towa City, which is the image all the way on the bottom, which is kind of hard, but it's an entire town, and in the game you can walk around the entire town. I cannot talk. I don't know why. Yeah, but I would say out of the three of them, if I had to pick, my least favorite was Towa City, only because I kind of like a closed-based type of setting where they can't really move around, especially with a plot like this where they're kind of trapped. But if I do play the game, which I am planning to, then I'm pretty sure that it might end up being one of my favorites, because the game style is different, and I'll go into that later. But my favorite one out of Hope's Peak Academy and Jabberwock Islands would be the school, because I I love school buildings, and they fascinate me beyond end, and I kind of like the atmosphere a little bit. It's more kind of deadly in the school than on the islands, where I do like kind of the open space it has, and how there are more stores on the islands, and it seems more like a resort, which I'm not arguing that I would love to do, like go on a resort like that, but I I gotta go with the school building. It's really great in my opinion, and at least like you'll know where people are. Apart from if you go on an island, there are 6 different islands. If you had to go find someone, it'll take you an entire day to try and get through the entire island to find the one person. So, so anyway, the characters. Now, I did the characters so that you'll be able to see all the characters in each one. And let's see. I'm not going to do last names unless I absolutely know it. So, on the left to right, we have Sakura Ogami, Hifumi Yamada, Yasuhiro Hagagure, Toko Fukawa, Junko Enoshima, Ayo Asahina. Wow, I really cannot talk right now. Makoto Naegi, Leon Kawada, Sayaka Maizono, Kuwataka Ishimaru, Kyoko Kirigiri, Celestio Lunenburg, Byakuya Togami, Shihiro Fujisaki, Mondo Owada, and Mono Bear. So, the cast from the first and the second game do like kind of, they're similar to each other, where I can easily point out, oh, well, that character from the second game and Leon Kawada are exactly the same, and I think they kind of resemble each other, and I kind of like that, but they're all so original with their talents, and it the video will be the thing will be really, really long if I decide to try and remember them all, but like I can't. But they all range from gambler to otaku to computer programmer. They're all really, really unique, and they all are different to each other, and the character designs are great. When you have them separately, you probably can't tell they were from the same thing unless you try. But put them together and they're like a big happy family. Especially with these guys, because apart from the other two games, I feel that this cast of characters are more resemblance. Wow, okay, they most resemble, yes, that's it. They most resemble a family, and they kind of act like one, where you'll have the older siblings, younger siblings, the technical father and technical mother, and I think it's great. They all have their bickering problems, and except for the occasional murder, then you can definitely see that they're really great together. Now, it wouldn't be a fair talking about characters if I didn't mention some of my favorite ones. So, in this cast, some of my favorites are not a surprise, but the last three on the end, except for Mono Bear, which is Byakuya Togami, Shihiro Fujisaki, and Mondo Kawada. They're all really different from each other, and Byakuya has kind of not the bad boy, but selfish, arrogant personality that I do really like. Shishiro is just so cute and adorable, and you just want to hug her and just want to go out there and help her out and not make fun of her. And Mondo, now, he is the bad boy, typical, and I absolutely love his attitude where he'll try to fight everything. It's great, believe me. Now, another character that I really do like is Toko Furukawa. And not because I do kind of think she resembles me only a slight bit, but her big secret that I will not say here, but in the second case, her big secret that they reveal about her is amazing. And I think right after they acknowledge the secret, they do bring it up more and more and more. And she becomes more useful like that. And I think that's amazing where just a tiny secret that ends up being not so tiny, a big, incredible secret, ends up helping you in the end and really helping solve what the actual thing is. What's the answer? We don't know. Oh, let's get Furukawa to help us. I love her for that. So, I guess it's hard to pick the least favorite character out of this bunch, but one of the annoying ones, I'll go with annoying because I don't want to say hate because before I could, but now I really can't. They've grown on me. But a kind of a annoying character. Oh man, this is hard. One I can easily point. Okay, I'll go with that one. Is Hifumi. He is, in my opinion, really annoying, but he is actually one, a pervert and kind of like that, which I'm a little iffy on. But he does actually have some respect for everyone else, and he does actually try to help out, except when he's a chicken. But I really do love every single character, and I really want to see them do something again with them. So, before I move on, I'll do this so you can get a closer look. And I'm really sorry about the camera. I've been saying I've been meaning to get a new one. But I have no idea when that will be, so sorry. Now the second cast of characters, where I I can't really be that impressive like the first one where I named every single one. Some of these are kinda iffy on me. And I'll try my best. I can already see too I can't really name that well. Anyway, we'll start from the left over here. We have Nidai, which is the one on top, then going down is Soda in the yellow jumpsuit. Nanami, which is the girl on the far left. Saionji in the front. Then Sonia. Mikin in the back. The gangster guy who I'm so mad that I can't remember his name. His name is very long. Hinata. Kamaida. Gundam in all the way in the back. Ibuki in the front. I can't remember her name. I'm so mad. The one with the brown hair. Peko in the silver hair. All the way in the front, Teru Teru. The girl in the front is Mizono? No, it's not no. I'm really bad with these names. And the one in the far corner, the guy, is Byakuya. So, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. But, oh, and Monokuma and Monomi. Anyway, apart from the first game, where they all seem like one big family like that, in my opinion, the second game, the cast of characters, you can definitely see that the characters are definitely different. Ah! Oh no! What happened? Alright, there we go. Sorry about that. But in the second game, it kind of seems that the characters aren't that close with each other, but they form more like cliques and groups where that's basically, if you see any fan dubs for them, apart from the first one where it's like, they're cliques, but they're known with other characters, really. In this, they're definitely like, oh, well, these two are always together. These two are always together. These three are like a thing. These two. It's like that, where I feel like there are more groups in the second game, which I wish they were like the first game. Anyway, the second cast of characters is more elaborate and kind of have more of, in the first, back to the first game, I'm sorry, where they're kind of relying more on motives where money, family, like that. In this, it's more on, we need to find a cure. Like all, it's basically touching on elements where there aren't that many motives. That's the only motive I have at the moment. Like, oh, and revenge. Kind of, they're more personal motives. And I feel like the explanations behind everything is more, how do I say it? More elaborate and more detailed. But I do like the second cast of characters. Finding out the ending to the first game is incredible, and how you see the characters in the beginning and then see them afterwards. Now, I think definitely in the second game, it's more of like a shock of what characters go off and who the killers end up being. Because you really don't expect them at first. But then there's some characters that'll change your mind. But I don't know what, I don't really have a lot to say about this one, which is a little bit odd. So now to say one of my favorite characters, Komida, who looks absolutely white in the camera, and I tried to change it, it won't work, but he brings up a whole new atmosphere in this game, and he changes everything. And for people who have seen the first game, or first, who have seen the second game, then you would be able to definitely see where there are elements that it wouldn't really be a thing if it wasn't for this character. He definitely changes the mood, and he helps kind of guide the main character along with Nanami. And if you picture it like Angel and Devil, I'm not going to say which one he is, but he's kind of like that, where he's trying to guide people. And I think he's doing the right thing. Some people are going to say no, but I'm not going to argue. Akame, I think it's what her name is, but I do kind of find her annoying. And one of my least favorite characters, only because she resembles Asahina a lot, except for her tough attitude. But I found that she has more like an annoying atmosphere, and she doesn't really use her ultimate title that much. correct me if I'm wrong. I'm up to hearing what you guys say. That's kind of just my opinion. So, I don't know. But I think the biggest shocker would be when you see that Byakuya Togami is in this. And it's very unique how things end up with him and how the story plays out when he does it a second time. Now, that's really what I'm going to say about Byakuya Togami, only because there are major spoiler things and I'd rather not get into that. So let's just move on. Alright. Now, these are the characters for... Man, okay. Let me... Okay, that's slightly better. Now, I can't really go into names for these because I really haven't played or really seen that much content for this cast of characters for the another episode. But I will say that the two girls in front are Kamaru Naegi and then Toko Fukawa, and then in the boxes up here is actually Makoto Naegi and Byakuya Togami, and they're not really like main characters, they're co-characters. And on the right hand of the screen, or yeah, the right hand, you can say that these are kind of like the good guys, where over here are the bad guys, and you immediately realize that the bad guys are children. They're probably not even finished or even in like 5th grade or something. They are tiny kids who are doing things like this. And one, it fascinated me that they're taking this to a new level where children are in charge. But it terrifies me in the fact that if you know, knowing that the mastermind, spoiler, knowing that the mastermind died in the first game, then this occurs about a year and a half afterwards. So it must mean that these children had some mentoring and some way to be able to do all this. And knowing that a terror like that isn't over is pretty terrifying, because it means that the mastermind had definitely a backup plan. And it really does bring people to like fear, knowing that people who are not even out of high school can cause something like this. Now, I think one of the biggest differences that this game and characters has with the other two are there are a complete white Monokuma and a complete black Monokuma. One for each side, kind of. And I don't know the complete reasoning behind it yet, and nor do I know the names. They are not called Monokuma. They are called something different. They each have a separate name, which I think is really cool. And apart from the first two games, okay. Apart from kind of like the first game a little bit, but a little bit in the second game, there are adults that are interacting in this. You actually get to see adults having to deal with something like this. And apart from the first two games, you actually see what the most terrifyingly horrible blah 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 event did to the world. You play in that scenario, and it's amazing that the creators made something like this. But not along with that, you get memorable characters, not from just the first game, but from the second game as well. And in the second game, basically all of those characters are in the third game, but not as they were in the second game, but in a whole new light. That when this game came out and I found the an image of one of the characters, it shocked me. I was amazed at what they were able to do with this. So, but it's not only that, you get brand new characters that have some sort of connection to either the good side and the bad side. So it's not just Komuro Naegi, who is related to the main character of the first one. You get characters that are related to all the other members, and it's great, but it's also sad at the same time that you have these people who are going through this tragedy while their other family member is dealing with another tragedy of their own. It's kind of amazing to see how everything kind of goes their own way and how every side has their own path. Kind of. I'm just kind of. I know I keep saying amazed, but the creators really did a good job on this one. So, now, apart from the other topics, and this is where I'm going to be more serious and kind of more critical to what I've been saying kind of before. So there will definitely be spoilers, and I'm not holding back this time. I held back with the characters. I'm not going to do it anymore. So the gameplay versus the animation. Now, as you can hopefully see, that the two images on the top, and, well, basically all the images are different from each other. And these are all different shots from each of the games. The one on the top right is from the first one. The one on the top left is from the second one, and the bottom one, which I'll get closer, is from the third one. Now, in the gameplay, I'll go over the first two games because they are very much similar, and then I'll do the third game. The first two games are basically you play as either Hinata or Makoto, and you're just exploring your surroundings, you're interacting with the characters, and also interacting with the scenery. So, a good example, which would be the image on the top left, it's from the second game, but when you're investigating or just a daily life event, which the game is split up into daily life and deadly life, and I'll get to that in a moment of basically what that is. But when you explore surrounding, you notice where you're able to see what you can actually look at. Now, I'm not too sure if you can see the difference here, but the blue rings are basically any item that you can click on, while the lighter pink is characters that you can talk to. Now, in both of the games, that's very useful, especially if you go into investigation mode, so you don't have to run about worrying that, oh, I didn't look at this, Oh, I forgot to look at that. The game will tell you when you're forgetting to look at something. Don't forget to use hints like that. And it's really helpful. And with the pink rings, it does let you know, it can tell a difference between the characters and then an actual item. So you're able to actually kind of realize what you already talked to, what you didn't do. So now, what I mentioned before is the daily life and the deadly life. Now, the games are kind of, when you go through each chapter, and I think there are 6 chapters for each of them. When you go through them, they get split up into daily life and deadly life. Daily life is when you're exploring the island, where you go through free time, which is you can hang out with the characters, learn more about them, and learn, or, well, gain special talents. Now, deadly life, you only go into deadly life when a murder has been committed and you have to start investigating. With that, when you enter daily life, that's all you can do. You can just investigate and just focus on that. Now, after you go through a investigation, you go through a trial, which, like, an example was this image. Sorry, I got really jumbled. But through a trial, it's one of the moments where every character, their voice actor, they all do talk, and you basically break down all the clues that you find, and you really do have to think. But in the trial, it basically helps you decide who killed who. In the trials, there are certain game modes where in the first one where you have to spell out certain words for clues, and in the second game where you have to surf your way and answer questions about the case. Either way, you're going to have to break down and figure out who the murderer is. Along your investigation, you'll get evidence that you can use, and just like in the example I have here, it is multiple choice, and if you get an answer wrong, you do lose kind of like a life, but you can go back and choose it again, and it will notify you that you chose it. Okay, so in the what all 3 games have in common is they do go through a execution. And the execution scenes are really, really well done. Where it's like a video, and each one is unique and different. And you only get to see that when an execution is played out. Now, speaking of the third game, the third game is different because unlike the first 2 where you walk around and you talk the characters, you do investigations, the third game is a third person shooter, and you have to shoot all the Monokumas to survive, and it does have a plot, you do play through it, and you have to take down the organization that's going on at the moment. And there are no trials, but there are fight scenes, which you do not get in the first 2 games. So the third game is more of the action standpoint, as you can see in the example, where the first 2 are more a murder mystery, thriller, puzzle, which is better to explain it. And in the third game, there are more animation scenes than in the first two. They're more hand-drawn and slight moves, unless it's an execution. And right now, the first two games are in English dub, along with sub. The third game is getting into sub, and it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think I've seen the second game in a dub playthrough yet. I'm at the very end of the first one, though, and I'm really trying to get through it. And then I'll eventually will play them and maybe do something special with them. But enough about me and actually playing the game. Now, let's compare the actual gameplay and the storyline almost to the actual animation. I'll bring it closer. So, the first scene up here is basically what the gameplay looks like. If you can see, then you can tell that, let me see if I bring it away a little bit. You can see that the characters are more detailed and really have a shine to them. While apart from down here, where it's like just a simple drawn animation, then you can see that the creators of the game, I'm not trying to put any harm on anything, you can see that they pay more attention to detail through the game than the animation. And as far as an animation adaptation to the game, it could have been a lot better and more slowed down, where the show could have done investigations longer, like they did in the first trial, than they did in the last one, which is barely any. But as far as my expectations, now seeing like the gameplay here and also the animation, I feel like the animation did do a good job, apart from having the trials a little bit longer and also the investigations longer. And also the detail on the faces, I'm not really that happy about that, especially with Byakuya Togami and some other characters that could have looked a lot better. But the animation does do a very good job, and it isn't that explicit than the game, where the game isn't really afraid to take anything to a point, like anything perverted like that or anything really wrong, where the animation kind of pulls back on everything, where I think that the actual, like, going back to Byakuya, his attitude towards everything was definitely not as sassy and mean as it was in the game. And Ishimaru, where after the second trial, he is a completely changed man. And I didn't think they showed it that well, of the shock factor that he went through. But other than that, they did a really good job picking up from how the game was, and especially with the soundtrack, which I'll get to, don't worry. But I wish the animation was at a better quality then, the actual game, but it did a good job. Now, the artwork and design. Should have talked about all the characteristics and all that from the last one now. So, these are pictures that they were drawn, I think, by the actual creators of the game. And they're really detailed, and that's what I love. They almost look doll-like, which I really like. And you can tell that more in the first game than the second game, that it was like hand painted. If I am wrong, then they did a pretty good job on it. But I like characters with a lot of detail to them, so we can see if they're really shocked. You can see like all the bangs under the eyes. You can see just how tired everyone is, and you can feel more of an emotion from them if you see more detail. Now, almost, what's that going? Yeah, if you like take a coin and you take out all like tiny detail, then it's like a coin with a face, and that's it. It's almost the exact same with like characters. If you don't have detail on like the hair or the clothing, you just have a person standing there in like a plain t-shirt or something, where it's actually like, oh, it's a uniform shirt or something like that. I don't know, but I will say that if I had to pick character drawings and designs from the first or the second game, I would have to go with the first game, only because of how unique. And I haven't really seen anything that had characters drawn like this before, where it's almost like a painting instead of like a hand drawn thing. And I do like the second game. I really do. But I feel that I kind of like that the characters of the first game are kind of darker in their character design, and how the atmosphere of it is more darker, like ominous, than in the second game. Now, before I move on to the next topic, seeing things like this, I completely forgot to kind of mention some things about like the setting and all that, and the gameplay, where sorry, in the gameplay for the first game, I'm going to basically do the first game because it is the school life, and more like in the second game, they're on islands in buildings. You explore the buildings. In the school environment, you basically go through every classroom, every single thing, and make sure you have everything you need. And I do like that the games pull off of that. So, I think the only thing that could have been made kind of better with the artwork and design would be, in the first game, have another character that isn't in earth tones, kind of. Because you see characters in dark clothing or white. And then you have Asahina, who's in a red tracks shirt. While in the second game, every character almost has like their own color palette to it. I would love to see something like that, because you have a yellow jumpsuit in the second game. You have a orange kimono. Dude, it could have been more colorful, but I guess that's how they were able to separate the uniqueness, or the game. And now the soundtrack. Hopefully, apart from my ramble talking, you're able to hear the soundtrack that I decided to put on. And the soundtrack is almost the same for the first and second game, but it's kind of different for the third. Now, for each thing that goes on, they do have separate music. They have music for the investigation, they have music for the trials, free time, when a body is found, execution. And each execution song, I think, is different. Learning that from two different characters. And it's one of my favorite, probably my favorite soundtrack. And I mainly really don't pay attention that much to the soundtrack. But I had to give this some credit. Whoever put this together really did a good job for it. They definitely pulled off the spookiness, the thriller-like, and then the nice, calm parts of the game. It helps me relax, and it's kind of odd to say that, saying that music from a murder horror game helps me calm down, but it's absolutely true. And it's not like it's big extreme rock band music. It's like subtle kind of tones. So the overall ranking I give the entire series is a 9.5 out of 10. The reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is probably because of how I feel about the animation isn't as well done as the actual game, but also that I don't know much about the third game. So when I get the opportunity to actually see that, I might rethink the rating. Hopefully it doesn't go down, because that would suck. But overall comments. This show, in my opinion, is made for someone who can take thriller horror and actually really loves to solve mysteries. And the game series, if you're looking for a game that you want to have played for a while, and I mean for a long while, it's a long game, it's really kind of tough a little bit, but if you like games like that, it's pretty up for you. And it does take a little bit of getting used to, because each part they do introduce something to you, and not a lot of people like that, where they would rather have the same elements and know what they're doing instead of having to be having all these new elements added and then probably forgetting about the old ones. But before I go, there are two facts about the series that one I didn't find out until very, very, very recent, and I don't think a lot of people know as well, which is, well, the more common one is, in this game, as you saw from the very first slide, the blood is pink. The reason for that is, in Japan, they do have a rating that they go by off of how much blood is in a game. Apparently, this game ranked very high on their blood count, so they either had to cut down the blood or change the color. So they went with hot pink. Some people might see that weird, but that's another element that makes the game so unique, is that oh, you come up on a crime scene and it's pink blood. It's easier to see than, like, dry out red blood because you don't know what you're looking at. Hot pink blood. Oh, there's a problem. But later on in the game, you do see red blood. I'm not going to say why, but you do see it. Now, the other fact that I haven't been well knowledge, like, I haven't learned, hold on. I haven't really had the information long enough than that one, where Danganronpa was actually, it wasn't supposed to be the way it was now. In the beginning, the game creators came up with Distrust, which is a beta version of Danganronpa. They made it, but the character designs were all different. The school was like a warehouse type scenario. Everything was different, and the game was 50 times harder than what we have now. As a result, the entire game was almost completely destroyed. Now, you can easily look up what the beta designs would have been. They kept Sayaka's and Leon almost the same. But there is one clip that, even though the entire game got destroyed almost, there are images from it. There is one clip on YouTube, and oh, spoiler, that has the last things from Distrust that they kept around, which is, if you look up Distrust Leon Kawada's execution, you should be able to find how they originally had it. And it's not too different, but there are some differences. So I was excited when I found that out, and how every character, including Monokuma, would have been different. So, with that, I end this anime chat. I hope if people who were questioning the show were watching this and, like, actually had, like, their mind blown by some things, I really do I really do like trying to get people to try something new, and I really hope that I kind of helped some people figure out whether or not this was any good. And well, since this was like kind of sudden, it wasn't really like planned out that I was originally going to do this. I really do appreciate everyone who will or have watched this video and all the other ones that me and my sister put out. And I really do appreciate everyone who subscribed because of it. We're thankful that people actually really like it, and we're not really just putting off time for something like this. And we really do want to try and get people to have like have their mind changed about certain shows that they might have said, oh no, don't do that, but then end up changing it. Hopefully, because we either show people some characters, do the live reacts, which I promise we will do more of those in the future. And kind of like everything else. I don't know. I'm kind of jumbled up right now, but if if you enjoyed this very very long video, I'm sorry. Not really used to doing a video about an hour long, but if you enjoy this video, leave a like and a comment down below. Leave any suggestions of certain shows that you would like to see me go through if you like this. And I promise I won't be as indecisive and I can talk more correctly than I was in this video. I was just really excited to actually have the opportunity to do this and show you guys probably my favorite show at the moment. So, like I said, leave a comment below if you like to see anything else. Or just check out any of the other videos, and hope to see you guys next time. And enjoy your day. Well, that's not really right. Yeah, I have nothing else to say, so see ya.